The other one, and I've said, I guess I missed on it, was Kyler Murray. So the reason I always stuck with Sam Darnold and never liked J.J. McCarthy is because Darnold had elite traits. Elite size, elite arm, elite athleticism, elite toughness. Well, Kyler Murray, to me, everybody keeps asking, well, who's the next Sam Darnold? An elite quarterback on the cheap. Who's the next Baker Mayfield? Well, guys, it's Kyler Murray if he goes to Minnesota with Jordan Addison and a good O-line and T.J. Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell. You got to remember, he made multiple Pro Bowls and a playoff in Arizona. They gave him a contract extension. Jets did not to Darnold. Cleveland didn't with Baker. Arizona gave him a contract extension. They picked it up. And he made multiple Pro Bowls. And he got to the playoffs. But like Darnold, what he has are elite traits. He is a more athletic, elusive version of Russell Wilson in his prime. He throws a beautiful deep ball. And because of his baseball background, he doesn't get hit that much. One of the great sliders in the sport. Really knows how to avoid contact. Is he small? Do I have commitment issues? Yes. But if you're looking for the next Darnold, it's right in front of you. It's Kyler Murray. And that's why I was never a J.J. McCarthy fan. What are the traits? When Drake May came out, I'm like, oh, that's NFL size, NFL arm, 2 traits. Caleb Williams, okay, that's NFL horsepower. Jaden Daniels, movement. I said, he's going to look like Lamar Jackson. You got to have a wow trait. Well, Kyler Murray has them. But like Sam Darnold, he went to a bad organization. So I worry a little bit about, he's a smaller quarterback. I don't think like Darnold. I think Darnold's a better talent. I don't think he's going to peel off 14 wins. But when you look at Baker and you look at Darnold, what they got to reinvent their career wasn't necessarily a great O-line. It was a great coach. For Darnold, it was Shanahan, then Kevin O'Connell, and then Clint Kubiak. For Baker Mayfield, he got a little Sean McVay, and then he gets Liam Cohen and Dave Canales. That's what the reclamation projects all have. They find their kingpin. They find their wizard. Well, Kevin O'Connell was that for Darnold. He was that for Josh Dobbs briefly. He couldn't make it work with J.J. McCarthy. I think it's Kyler Murray. Albert Breer yesterday on Kyler and the Vikings, and the reports are it's getting close.
I think right now things are lining up for the Vikings to bring Kyler Murray in on the minimum. And I think if you're Kyler Murray, you look at that situation, the opportunity to work with Kevin O'Connell, an offensive line that they've invested in, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. I mean, you start to add up the pieces that you've got in Minnesota. And even though they didn't play very well last year, a lot of those same elements that put Sam Darnold in position to resurrect his career would still be there for Kyler Murray.
This particular topic offers multiple avenues for exploration because there are valid points scattered throughout the discussion, alongside some significant misconceptions. There is so much to break down here that I almost wish we had a classroom setting with a whiteboard and a proper PowerPoint presentation to methodically work through each argument. The Sam Darnold narrative with the Minnesota Vikings requires particular attention because it has been oversimplified to the point of inaccuracy. Let's start with Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. The prevailing storyline suggests that Darnold simply arrived in Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell worked some magic, and suddenly a career backup transformed into a legitimate starter. That framing completely ignores the reality of Darnold's journey. For years, long before he ever put on a Vikings uniform, Sam Darnold was putting in the work. He wasn't stagnating as the same player season after season, only to miraculously improve upon arrival in Minnesota. That is not how player development functions. We need to retire that narrative because it does a disservice to the complexity of quarterback growth. Now, none of this is intended as criticism of Kevin O'Connell. I cannot emphasize that enough. I hold Kevin O'Connell in extremely high regard as a coach. I praise him constantly because he deserves recognition for his offensive mind and leadership abilities. But we must stop pretending that Sam Darnold was simply a cast-off who landed in O'Connell's system and got transformed into a Super Bowl caliber quarterback overnight. That version of events does not align with what actually transpired. The timeline matters. The context matters. Consider Baker Mayfield's trajectory. How effective did he look with Liam Cohen compared to without him? These situations vary significantly based on numerous factors. Now look at Sam Darnold with Kevin O'Connell versus without him. The contrast reveals that context matters enormously, but it also reveals that Darnold brought something to the table that predated his time in Minnesota. We need clarity in these conversations because the differences between quarterbacks and their environments tell us something important about what actually drives success. This brings us to Kyler Murray and the broader discussion about quarterback development. Kyler Murray had a talented offensive coach in Cliff Kingsbury. Perhaps Kingsbury wasn't suited for head coaching responsibilities, but as an offensive mind, he possessed genuine ability. Yet Murray experienced problems working with him. Meanwhile, Jaden Daniels had zero issues with the same coach in a different setting. Sean McVay welcomed Kingsbury back to his staff without hesitation. The variable worth examining is not simply the coach, but the quarterback's approach to collaboration. Now, to be fair, that situation may have involved a younger, less mature version of Kyler Murray. Perhaps he has grown since then. Perhaps his perspective has evolved. But Dan Orlovsky conducted a conversation with Murray, a straightforward football discussion, and came away expressing concerns about what he heard. I have referenced that clip previously because Murray essentially communicated that putting the ball in his hands represents the team's best chance to succeed, that he needs to function as the primary playmaker. That mindset reflects what you might expect from a 22-year-old rookie finding his way, not from an established veteran who has been in the league for multiple seasons. The undeniable reality is that the Arizona Cardinals performed noticeably better at times without Kyler Murray on the field. The numbers support that observation. The eye test supports it. Do I believe Kyler Murray could experience success with Kevin O'Connell? Absolutely. I am not suggesting Murray lacks talent or belongs in the conversation with quarterbacks who face more significant limitations. Based purely on his athletic traits and physical capabilities, Murray possesses the tools to succeed in the right situation. But success for Kyler Murray is not the same as success for the Minnesota Vikings as an organization. The Vikings have constructed what appears to be a Super Bowl caliber infrastructure. They have built a culture, assembled talent, and established systems that position them for championship contention. Yet they have struggled to take that final step, whether with Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, or the promise of J.J. McCarthy. The potential exists within the organization. The foundation is solid, but I fundamentally question whether inserting Kyler Murray into that environment automatically delivers the desired outcome. The stylistic approach Kevin O'Connell prefers for his offense does not align seamlessly with what Kyler Murray has demonstrated throughout his career. More concerning than the stylistic mismatch is the question of Murray's willingness to grow and evolve as a quarterback. If a player lacks genuine desire to develop, to adapt, to expand his game, that presents a serious obstacle regardless of surrounding talent. I addressed this recently in comment section discussions about managing difficult personalities versus drawing boundaries. Colin Cowherd has expressed reluctance about dealing with challenging players, and I understand that perspective to some degree. Coaching inevitably involves managing diverse personalities, providing guidance, occasionally even engaging in what might be described as babysitting. When you are dealing with 22 and 23-year-old players, many of whom are essentially young adults relative to coaches who may be twice their age, that reality is simply part of the profession. However, I draw a firm line when a player demonstrates unwillingness to grow. When someone resists coaching, when the response to constructive guidance is essentially rejection, that becomes problematic. People often respond by noting that Kyler Murray remains committed to football. Of course he is committed. Nobody questions his dedication to the sport. The question is whether he remains committed to growing and evolving within it. Is he willing to acknowledge that his approach might benefit from adjustment? Is he open to examining areas requiring improvement? Is he prepared to embrace the reality that doing things the same way for years might necessitate change? I consistently roll my eyes when I hear players or anyone else justify behavior by claiming they have always done things a certain way. That reasoning holds no weight with me. Past approaches represent yesterday's solutions. What works today? What prepares you for tomorrow? Do we imagine Patrick Mahomes plays identically to his high school senior self in 2015? Absolutely not. Do we think Tom Brady operated the same way in 8th grade as he did during his NFL career? Of course not. Growth and evolution are fundamental to sustained excellence. The perception surrounding Kyler Murray centers on his immense potential, specifically his remarkable skill set. Observers look at his physical abilities and wonder how he fails to achieve greatness. They imagine what Kevin O'Connell might unlock. For the Minnesota Vikings, the calculus could become straightforward if acquiring Murray costs minimal resources. He would undeniably elevate the team's floor. But the ceiling question remains. In many respects, the highest individual moments we observed from J.J. McCarthy, those flashes against Chicago or Detroit where you thought something promising might be developing, those moments resemble what you might expect from Kyler Murray on a consistent basis. Those flashes never accumulated into sustained production for McCarthy, and they have not translated into consistent excellence for Murray either. We observe this pattern repeatedly across the league. Quarterbacks who struggle to execute their offensive coordinator's vision consistently, who cannot operate within the timing and rhythm of a choreographed offense, find it extraordinarily difficult to achieve consistency at the NFL level. This reality explains why quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins or even Daniel Jones continue receiving opportunities and compensation. Coaches trust them to execute the offense as designed. They deliver what the system demands. This same dynamic explains why Jimmy Garoppolo could enter Kyle Shanahan's offense and experience immediate success. That capability represents those quarterbacks' version of a superpower. It enables coaches to implement their vision with confidence. That is not Kyler Murray's superpower. His superpower involves improvisation, athleticism, playmaking outside structure. Those abilities hold tremendous value, but they must integrate with everything else required of a franchise quarterback. That integration is what separates Patrick Mahomes, the ability to combine extraordinary improvisation with disciplined execution within the system. Murray has not demonstrated consistent capacity for that combination. We see the struggles repeatedly. We observe where things break down. That foundation conflicts with what Kevin O'Connell seeks to build. Can the offense improve with Murray? Will we witness spectacular highlights? Will there be moments where Murray scrambles and launches deep passes to Justin Jefferson? Absolutely. Those moments will occur. That outcome feels positive superficially. It appears to represent progress. But when I evaluate the Minnesota Vikings through the lens of Super Bowl aspirations, I struggle to envision that destination with Kyler Murray at quarterback. The path becomes unclear. This is not to suggest obvious alternatives exist. The Vikings cannot simply select another quarterback capable of delivering a championship. The options are limited. Kyler Murray may represent the best available path forward. However, having been vocal about Sam Darnold's potential with Kevin O'Connell, having praised O'Connell extensively, I maintain confidence in evaluating what this system requires. The discussion sometimes becomes confused, with references to backups and sustained success that simply did not occur. The Vikings experienced some impressive moments, some excellent games, followed by complete collapse. That is the accurate historical record. Truthfully, I would feel more optimistic about acquiring a Malik Willis than a Kyler Murray. I see growth trajectory with Willis. I observe development potential. I recognize a quarterback capable of both operating within structure and creating outside it. That evolution remains incomplete, leaving substantial room for continued improvement. A move in that direction would generate genuine excitement for me. Even Jimmy Garoppolo presents an interesting case study in this context. Kyler Murray with the Minnesota Vikings certainly qualifies as interesting. I will watch attentively. I have previously identified the Vikings as one of the teams I am most eager to observe because the outcome promises either fireworks or fire. I am invested either way. But my evaluation framework considers that this organization stood on the brink of championship contention. Decisions about direction carry enormous weight. If Kyler Murray becomes that direction, the automatic assumption that success follows inevitably ignores substantial evidence. The comparisons to Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield overlook crucial differences in circumstances and player development trajectories. I would be genuinely pleased to be wrong about this assessment. I would enthusiastically produce content celebrating a 10-1 start, highlighting MVP candidacy, acknowledging miscalculation. I prioritize accuracy over defending previous positions. Come October or November, If Kyler Murray emerges as an MVP candidate leading the Vikings to dominance, I will be the first to ask how anyone could have doubted him. I will embrace that reality enthusiastically. Envisioning that future currently proves difficult. Some of the Carson Wentz experiences with Minnesota, the high moments followed by familiar problems, seem relevant here. The highs this offense has already demonstrated may well materialize with Murray. But the consistency issues that have plagued both Wentz and McCarthy, and indeed Murray himself throughout his career, appear likely to persist. Murray may not solve the fundamental problem of offensive reliability that has constrained this team's ceiling. That encapsulates my perspective. The ceiling raises in some respects, while the floor remains uncertain, and the consistency required for championship contention remains elusive. Kyler Murray represents an intriguing possibility, but not necessarily a solution to the most critical challenge facing the Minnesota Vikings. Those represent my thoughts on this subject. I am genuinely interested in hearing your perspectives regarding the Vikings and Kyler Murray. Will Kevin O'Connell unlock his full potential? The concept of unlocking potential carries such appealing imagery. What does full potential even mean in this context? What might Kyler Murray's ultimate ceiling resemble? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single response, whether agreement or disagreement drives your perspective. Let's generate meaningful discussion, perhaps even productive disagreement, but ultimately maintain enjoyment in the conversation. Please consider subscribing if you appreciate this content. We are developing a community here that I hope feels genuinely connected and invested. Your participation matters enormously. Remember to like this video as it supports visibility and algorithmic reach. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next discussion.